Black butterfly, black butterfly, black butterfly. You can do most anything your heart desires, anything. Freedom comes with understanding who you are, who you are. It's time to reclaim your place among the stars. Spread your wings, awakening. A genius has been asleep too long, too long. A people with a beauty rich and strong. A heritage that rates second to none. No, it's not. Original. Equalities, don't change them to fit in. Don't change now that you're on top. Just keep rising. Keep rising. Experience in new life. Be born again. What's going on? Truth not revealed unless you choose to see. Past generations lost in history. To hide our culture and identity. Please, 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 please keep your pride. You can't be another color butterfly. No, you can't. So when you shine, let everybody see your light. See your light. 'Cause you know out of sight means out of mind. Yes, it does. Spread your wings, black butterfly. Black butterfly. You can do most anything your heart desires. Yes, you can. Freedom comes from understanding who you are. Gotta know it's time to reclaim your place among the stars. Come on now. Spread your wings and fly. Spread your wings, come on now, and fly. Ooh. Black butterfly. Black butterfly. Black butterfly. Black butterfly. Black butterfly. Black butterfly. All right, it's Mama Justiri time. You know, this song, it really was the epitome of Mama Justiri. Because Mama Justiri was African, in, out, upside down, right side up. When she was sleeping, when she was woke, when she was fussing, when she was teaching. And right before she passed away, we met a young brother, and
and she turned him on to being who he is. And I think that may have been the last person she ever met. And he says he will never forget her. Of course, if you knew her, you wouldn't either. But so this is a song that was written by Mama Jasiri. And no one can ever sing it like Mama Jasiri. But we try. Yes.
Good. You do good.
So I say Mama Jasiri. I am so thankful, to be an African. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I am so thankful, to be African. Oh, yes, I am. 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 Oh, yes, I am. And I know the ancestors and elders are smiling every day, because they know we all will say the Church of the African Way. And I am so thankful, so thankful to be an African. Oh, yes, I am. 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 Oh, yes, I am. And I love you, and you love me. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's God's destiny. It was meant to be. We should be together as one, and I am so thankful. Are you thankful to be an African? Oh, yes, I am. 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 Oh, yes, I am. Now listen. In God's creation, hatred should never be. Love is the way to eternity. It's God's destiny. It was meant to be. We should be together as one, and I am so thankful. So thankful to be an African. Oh, yes, I am. 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 Oh, yes, I am. And I am so thankful. Are you thankful to be an African? Oh, yes, I am. 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 Oh, yes, I am. Thank you, Mama Jasiri. Thank you for teaching our children. Thank you for being an angel amongst us. Thank you for choosing this community. We are so thankful. Yes. you should be too.
Okay. Good morning, family. It's good to have everybody here this morning. Really glad to see my cousin and my sister and my second cousins up in the house, and good to see the Bridgeport family. Good to see you brothers again today. It's twice in a weekend, so it's good to see everybody. This is the time in our service for our historical tribute. We believe it's important to keep at least 7 generations of history alive and operating in the minds of our people. And this morning, one of our leaders in this community and somebody who's made a lot of sacrifices, done a lot of work, and been just great, both iterations of his time at Woolsey. So Brother Tambo Payton is coming this morning. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Brother Minister Good. I want you to know I'm a last-minute fill-in, so here we go. I want to start by saying, well, Brother Greg already said this is the time in our service that we have our historical tribute. It's the time that we take out each and every Sunday to pay honor, to pay homage, to pay tribute to some significant, not necessarily famous, but significant person, place, or event in our history. And we do it because we know that if we don't take the time to teach ourselves and remember ourselves, we will be forgotten. Okay. I want to start by saying that last Sunday after service, I went to a film showing at Sister Connie's house, 12 Years a Slave, okay? We had a viewing and discussion of 12 Years a Slave. After the viewing, we had a pretty interesting and good discussion, and a lot of things came up. We talked about why are we still showing movies about slaves? Why are we still doing that? Some people did. And how much do we really know about slavery? And how much do our youth really know about slavery? And those kind of things. And we talked about how much did they know about slavery during slavery. Solomon Northup, for example, was a so-called free man in those days. And the question came up, how much did he know about slavery, living in New York the way he did? And what did he do about it? Did he do anything? Before he was captured, did he do anything about slavery? And so we talked about, the importance of slavery, of teaching our youth and ourselves about slavery. And so one of the questions that came up was, what did we do about slavery during the days of slavery? And as you know, and as we always say here at Will Say, some of us accepted slavery. Some of us accepted slavery, we have to say that. Some of us didn't have any choice, but for the most part, we fought slavery. We fought it tooth and nail. There's stories, we hear there were over 300 slave revolts and plots during the time. We hear about the revolts of people like Cato and Gabriel Prosser and Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner. They haven't brought those stories to the big screen yet. Hollywood's not telling those stories, but we know those stories, and we keep those stories alive. And we want to let our people know, our children know, that we fought. In slavery, we fought. But everybody didn't fight. Everybody couldn't fight. In fact, no less an authority than W.E.B. Du Bois said that the most effective revolt of the Negro against slavery was not fighting, but running away. Okay, so a lot of us ran. We escaped slavery and ran. A lot of us went to the north. We know stories about Sister Harriet Tubman. In fact, we celebrated her birthday 2-3 weeks ago in the park, and had a historical tribute about her, so I won't talk too much about her. But we know that she took hundreds of people to the north. She kept going back to the south, helping our people escape, and took them to the north, the relative freedom of the north, like New York and sometimes Canada. And the sister was proud to say that she never ran her train off the track, and she never lost a single passenger. One story I like to tell about Harriet Tubman is, a lot of times, oftentimes when she was on her travels to the north, there was a brother, and it was usually a brother, who after 2 or 3 nights out would get scared or get cold and would want to turn around and go back, want to go back. And Sister Harriet would look at him and put her hand in her bosom and pull out a pistol and point it at his head and say, "Brother, you're going to be free one way or another, but there ain't no going back. There ain't no going back." So that's a good sister. And she used her powers of persuasion to get everybody to the north. Okay? But everybody who ran didn't go north, And everybody who ran didn't go north. All across the South, and even below the South, in the islands, but all across the South, there were these societies of runaway slaves that they called maroons, These maroon societies, maroon communities. One of the largest one was in a place called Dismal Swamp, Virginia. Okay, Dismal Swamp, Virginia. And Dismal Swamp was so well known at the time that it became the subject of Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. Her second book was called Dread: A Tale of the Great Dismal Swamp. Dismal Swamp. The brothers at Dismal Swamp were so bad that the soldiers wouldn't go in there to get them. The soldiers wouldn't go in there. And when they sent the dogs in, the dogs never came back. so the brothers at Dismal Swamp. But can you imagine living in a place called Dismal Swamp? Of course, that's what they call it. To us, it was freedom, right? It was freedom. It was freedom. I did find out last night preparing for this that today in what is Dismal Swamp, there is a place called the Underground Railroad Educational Pavilion. So you can go to Dismal Swamp today and learn the story of the Maroons. Yeah. Okay. Another maroon village is actually the subject of this morning's historical tribute, and it was a place called Negro Fort, that was in Florida. Okay, in 1812 during the Spanish-American War. I'm sorry, during the War of 1812. In 1812, during the War of 1812, the British built a fort at a place called Prospect Bluff, which was on the east side of the Apalachicola River in western Florida. That's for you geography buffs. Now you know exactly where it was. Okay. When the war was over in 1816, they abandoned the fort, and they left the fort to their black allies and some Indians, some Seminole Indians. Now the reason they had black allies is because the British had told, during the war, they said that any runaway slaves who joined them would have their freedom at the end of the war. And so they kept their word, and so they abandoned the fort. They left it to the runaways, and they left the ammunition and they left weapons there. Okay, and so the brothers took over the fort. The brothers and Indians, about 300 Maroons and Indians, men, women, and children, took up residence in the fort and then started building around the fort. Farmlands, and they started building farms and whatnot. And they had a society. They built a regular society. It was led by. They had a system of government that had captains and chiefs, okay? The leader of the society was a brother by the name of Garçon, a freed slave, and a runaway slave, and a Choctaw Indian whose name history didn't record, okay? And they renamed the place Negro Fort. Now, I would like to be able to say that that's the end of the story, that these runaway slaves and Indians built a society that flourished in the South, but of course it was the South, it was America, it was during slavery, and that's not the end of the story. And in fact, I say it was in America, but it wasn't America. In 1816, Florida did not belong to the United States. The United States hadn't claimed Florida yet. It was land that was controlled by the Spanish, okay? And so these brothers were in a British fort in land that was controlled by the Spanish, trying to live out their God-given right to be free. But of course, the Americans didn't want that to happen. And there were several reasons that they didn't want it to happen. One was because just their existence destroyed the myth, the American myth, that Africans couldn't govern themselves, right? That we were savages and we couldn't govern ourselves. Here, these brothers were governing, they were ruling themselves, they were feeding themselves, and more importantly, they were protecting themselves. So that destroyed that myth. The second reason was that the plantation owners in places in Florida and Georgia and Mississippi and as far away as Tennessee found it increasingly hard to control their slaves, because the slaves would hear, there was a slave grapevine at the time, and so the slaves would hear about these brothers flourishing in Florida, and they would want to go and become unruly and hard to control. In fact, they started escaping. They would escape, and they would go join the brothers in Florida, right? I mean, now they didn't have to, and sisters, I'm sorry, I keep saying brothers and sisters and children in Florida. So now they didn't have to go all the way to New York. They could go to Florida, okay? And then, as you might expect, the people in the fort started raiding plantations near them. They would raid plantations, get food, and free other brothers and sisters. And the society kept growing and growing and growing. it grew to over 1,000 people, okay? The newspapers across the South started yelling, we want them out. And then the United States decided it wanted to expand into Florida. And of course, they couldn't expand into Florida and have these free brothers doing what they were doing there. And so the United States sent Andrew Jackson, who became a president of the United States, as you know. And as a president, Andrew Jackson was called the greatest, and by greatest, I meant had the most, the greatest slaveholder in the state of Tennessee. All right, so Andrew Jackson was no friend of black people. Okay, so he was the general of the Southwest Military District of the United States at the time, and they sent him to destroy. His order was destroy the fort and restore the stolen Negroes and property to their rightful owners. So he sent the 4th U.S. Infantry, the Army, naval gunships, the Navy, and some Seminole Indians down to Florida, which wasn't even part of the United States, to destroy this fort. Okay, so when they first got there, when the Army first got there, they sent in a gunship with a landing party, what they called a reconnaissance party, and they wanted to sneak up on the brothers at the fort. Well, the brothers were ready for them, and they captured them, and they scalped them. Okay, now I don't know if you know what scalp is, but it's a close haircut. You know, in fact, they take off the top of your head. Okay, so the brothers at the fort won the first encounter. Okay, and so after the Army found out that had happened, they sent in a bunch of Indians, a bunch of Seminole Indians, to go to the fort and negotiate with the brothers. Okay, and the books say that the people at the fort heaped great abuse on the Indians. Now, it doesn't say what great abuse is, but I can imagine what they did. Remember, let me set this up again. These are brothers and sisters, runaway slaves, trying to be free in a British fort in Spanish land. And here these Indians are coming in saying, give up to the white man from America, okay? So they convinced the Indians that they weren't going to do it, and they heaped great abuse on them. Okay. Oh, that's my 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to make it real quick, brother. I'm going to make it real quick. So when that didn't work, they moved in the Navy. They moved in the Navy gunboats, and they told Garcon, surrender or else. Now, what this brother Garcon did was he called a meeting of all the people in the society, in the community, and he told them, he says, this is the situation. The U.S. Army's out there, they're trying to kill us. Anybody who wants to leave can leave now, you know, and not a single person left. And the reason they didn't left is because they had been slaves before, and they knew what that was, and this was their ability, this was their chance to be free, and they were willing to fight and to die for freedom than to go back into slavery. And so what Garcon did was he sent an answer in form of a cannon shot. He fired a cannon at him, and he raised the flag. It was the Union Jack, because this was a British fort. Union Jack flag, which is a British flag, but also a red flag. And it doesn't say what the red flag meant, but we all know what it means. It means they were willing to fight and bleed and die and take blood if necessary for their freedom, okay? And so essentially what Garcon said was, give us liberty or give us death, right? Now, I know somebody out there is thinking that's a line made famous by Patrick Henry, the so-called patriot Patrick Henry. But you have to remember, when Patrick Henry said it, well, first of all, Patrick Henry was himself a slaveholder, right? So when he said liberty or death, he wasn't talking about any God-given right to be free. He was talking about his right to be free so he can oppress other people, right? So that's what Patrick Henry said when he said, give me liberty, but not everybody. Right? And when Patrick Henry said it, he was in a room full of other so-called patriots. There was no way in the world he was going to get killed, right? I mean, he could have just as easily have said, give me liberty or may lightning strike me dead. In fact, there was more chance of lightning striking him dead than there was of him being shot by an enemy bullet. But these brothers, when they said it, they look over the wall and they see American cannons aimed at them. So it meant something when they said it. So anyway, with an eye on the time, Brother Shango, with an eye on the time, after they fired the shot, the fighting started. The fighting lasted for a period of 4 days. And then on the 4th day, the Navy, for whatever reason, started heating their cannonballs. They heated the cannonballs before they fired them over the wall. Okay. One of the heated cannonballs went over the wall, and it hit the building that the Maroons stored their ammunition in. Okay. It said that the resultant explosion was heard and felt 60 miles away in Pensacola. said over 270 of the Maroons were killed instantly, and most of the rest died shortly after as a result of their injuries. There were some survivors, and of the survivors, all but one exception, all but one either escaped into the woods and joined the Seminoles, or were captured and returned to slavery. The one exception was the leader, Garcon, who was captured and executed at the time. And so I tell this story because I like to tell stories of victories, right? And some might hear this and say, well, the brother's lost. But I say, anytime you stand up for your God-given right to be free, anytime you sacrifice to do God's will, you have won. And so this, to me, this story of the Maroons at Negro Fort is a story of victory for our people. And may their name and their struggle and their energy and their spirit live forever and forever and forever in the hearts and minds of our people. Thank you, Wilson.
Good morning, we'll say. We're having an in live and color service this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have our little ladies passing out the envelopes for our litany of sacrifice. And I'll start out just reading from a book of poetry, and this poem always means so much to me. It's by a sister named Ruth Foreman, and she's written a book entitled Prayers Like Shoes. And you know what rings home for me is at this time in what's going on in our world, in our history, in our lives, in our communities, is we need to use prayer like shoes every day. We need to be prayerful because sometimes we feel like we can't do anything. You can always pray. So Sister Ruth, Prayers Like Shoes starts, I wear prayers like shoes. I pull them on quiet each morning. Take me through the uncertain day. Don't know what might knock me off course. Sit up in bed, pull on the right, then the left, before shower, before teeth. My mama's gift to walk me through this life. She wore strong ones, the kind to steady your ankles. I know when her man left, her children gone, her eldest son without goodbye, they the only ones keep her standing. I saw her still standing. Mama passed on some things to me. My smile, sense of discipline, my subtle behind, but best she passed on, girl, you go to God and get you some good shoes, 'cause this life ain't steady ground. Now, I don't wear hers, 'cause you take them with you, but I suspect they made by the same company. Pull them on each morning, first the right, then the left. Best peace address I got. Prayers Like Shoes by Ruth Foreman. So for our litany, our manuals, page 15. Sister Fanya's at the altar there. I'm gonna burn the candles. So page 15 of our black manuals is where you'll find the litany. Let us stand, those of us who can stand. Thank you. And our little Jalea's up front with her mom, Sister Fanya. So it starts, our litany starts, save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly, we bring our sacrifices to you. We will praise your name, O Amun-Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kujichagulia, self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together. Ujama, together we shall build and maintain our own businesses. Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness. Kuumba, creativity. We shall do as much as we can in any way we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. Imani, faith. We will believe with all our hearts in our God, our people, and in the righteousness and victory of our struggles. Amun-Ra. And now those of us that want to come to the kneeling pads at the front can do so as we bless these offerings. Divine Creator God, Amun-Ra, you have given us so much. We have so much to be thankful for. We want to thank everybody who was able to bring a little sacrifice today, and those, all of us that might want to have given more. We appreciate everything that is given here to this community. We have big jobs to do and lots of challenges. But you have given us eyes to see your beautiful creations, a nose to smell the scent of the flowers, ears to hear the birds humming so sweetly in the morning. You have given us hands to touch the lives of many. And so you've given us all these gifts, showered so benevolently with abundance. We at least can bring back simple monetary gifts and our time and our talents so we can help build God's community, our African community, the diaspora of Africans, help grow Ilioma Day, help grow and be a part of our sister church in Sacramento. We just want to thank you. Our hearts are full of gratitude, and let's just all appreciate and the challenges we have because they help us grow. Ashe, amen.
I'm Arahotep Wose. I give thanks and Creator, to the Orishas, to the to the ancestors for their guidance, for all that they give to me through this community and through the work that I endeavor. Ask that this message that I've prepared today be just what somebody in this room needed to hear. A very interesting time. As many of you know, I've started the process of ministerial training here at Wose. The nice thing about that experience is I finally feel like I have a place where questions can be answered. So as a child, my parents will confirm this. I always had a lot of questions. I was definitely, what is this? Where do you get that from? Why is that? Always very curious. And most children are like that, but I'm like to the nth power with it. And they got to a point where they were like, girl, just go look. Really very good at that. When I go look it up. I got very good at it. Now, in addition to those research skills, I have an additional place for those questions. And so some nights I can't sleep because with all these questions about things that I'm reading. Read one thing, it's like knowledge just keeps, it's like a tree and it drops seeds. So the one thing, there are 10 more things that are opened up you have the opportunity to learn about. So when I lay down in the bed, I start thinking about all the, usually I'll grab my phone and I'll send it to Baba Greg or Brother Keita, and Brother also been invaluable to me in getting knowledge and just been a really helpful. And my most recent question was about Set. And in our, we talk about Set, who is the of sort of mischief nature, you know, the nature, so to speak. He was in, you know, we have Set fighting Heru and Ru fighting Set and defeating Set. But in our libation, bless you, but I bind you. And I wonder, why you know, if Set is a Netcher and he wouldn't binding him interfere? Why do we bind him? Why not just let him to his work? And want to hinder his sacred responsibility. And Baba Greg said, and I quote, binding Set is associated with slowing down and limiting the mischief aspects of the Netcher. So he does have sacred work, but we also know that he stays in balance. And so when we up his name, we bless him, but we say, we bind you, go so far that you can only do so much. It was a wonderfully clear of the concept of Set. You know, this idea of, it runs with the idea of restraint without utter, right? And of the, as part of the narrative of Heru with Set. So, spirit of that new, I want to share a little story. Africans, we like stories, right? In honor of Baba Greg, I'll say there's a story. I didn't make it up. Nobody did, because this actually happened to me. So it's actually a true story. The first time I lived in Ghana, I was a student. So I was attending the University of Ghana in Accra. And we were going on a week to Abidjan, which is the capital of Cote d'Ivoire. So we're on the bus on our way to Cote d'Ivoire. And of course, I back in Accra. So we get to about Cape Coast, which is about 2 hours from Accra, the bus, and find my way back to Accra. I'm so embarrassed about the fact that me, little miss, with her passport, that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make it to Abidjan on my own. I'm gonna figure it out, right? So I get off the bus, and the bus driver is telling me the bus station's over there, and I was like, where? I don't see anything. All I saw was the, you know, regular pandemonium and mass confusion that is an African street, right? So I'm looking, and he's pointing over there, and he sees these ladies who have parcels clearly going to the bus station. So he tells them, she don't know how to find a bus station. Can you help her? Do you know these two little old ladies grabbed each of them, took their parcels in their other hands, and each of them grabbed one of my hands and took me across the street like I was a little 8-year-old kid. It was the sweetest thing. It was just the sweetest thing. They basically adopted me on the street. Okay, so then they take me into the bus station, which is basically a shack with raggedy benches. And they sit me down on the bench. They bought me some peanuts to snack on. So I'm sitting there eating my little peanuts, waiting for the bus. I have no idea what's going on, mind you. And then finally, the bus comes out of nowhere. I have no idea where this bus came from. So I'm seeing that the seats on the bus are 7 across, right? What they did to make more money is they put a seat in the aisle, but it's a flip-down, fold-down seat, right? she like, yes. So there's a little flip-down seat. So I counted, and I figured out that the first person and the 7th person get a window seat. And Africa is Africa hot. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a window seat. So I counted all the people and made a little space for me and the little lady so that we could be closer to the window. So I'm trying to tell them, come on, we got to hurry up and get in line right now because we're going to miss the window. But they don't speak English, and I don't speak whatever they speak. That didn't work out too good. And I was like, man, I had to get by a window. So got on the bus, got to a window, and I was so excited. And, of course, I pushed on the window, and the window don't open. I was like, oh. So I got a ride on this bus, stuck in an aisle, 2 hours in the heat, right? And this is an old bus. This is not like a Greyhound. It's like a old bus they kicked out of Alabama after segregation, one door, uncomfortable seats bus, right? So sitting on this bus, some lady puts her baby in my lap. So I'm sitting on the bus riding with this random baby. And finally I get back to Accra. Get to the place where I'm staying. I get my passport, and then a friend of mine dropped me at the taxi station. He was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yes. I'm down for it. But here I am kind of like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do it. But I was like, I got to redeem my name. So basically, he takes me to the quote-unquote taxi station, which is basically a vacant lot full of potholes, which are conveniently filled with putrid water and some sort of mystery smell that I'll never forget. And he goes to get me a ticket from the ticket shack. So I'm standing there waiting, trying to look around, get my bearings, and this rat runs past me with blood on his mouth, screaming. Again, this is a true story. Blood on his mouth, screaming, and he passes out maybe about where this second drum is. So there's a man who's watching me watch this rat, and I guess he can see the look of mortification on my face. So bless his heart, he comes, he picks the rat up by his tail and flings it off to the side of the ticket shack. And he goes, see, it's gone. It's gone. And so I was like, my hero, thank you. Okay. So they put me in the car since I'm the smallest one. It's one of those taxis that they squeeze like 20 people in, and it's only supposed to be 9. Right. So on the back seat, they put me in the taxi because I'm the smallest one, on top of a tire. I got to sit on top of a tire next to these 2 drunk dudes. So luckily, my mama told me that I should carry a hammer in my purse. And so a hammer. Yeah, just in case anything happened. Luckily. Right. So I was like, I'll be all right. I got the hammer in my purse. So this 14-hour ride, we keep stopping. And I'm like, why are they stopping? The driver's stopping to see his family and friends chilling. I'm like, can we get to the border? I'm trying to hurry up to get to the border so I can catch up with my friends. And then next thing you know, we stopped to eat and drink. And I wouldn't eat or drink because I didn't want to have to use the bathroom because, it's situation serious out there. It gets real. So we get back on the road after everybody's eating and drinking, and I'm thinking, yes, that was a good strategy. We get on the road, and the car breaks down. And, of course, then I'm sure the fright pushed me to the point where I had to powder my nose. But, of course, there is no Chevron, right? There's no travel stop, and we're on a road that's going through the brush, okay? So basically, the side of the road, you can see that there is a drop, but I don't know if it's 2 feet or 20. So basically, I had to have additionally, there are no lights. 0 lights on the road. Not a faraway street light, not 50 feet, no lights whatsoever. And Not to mention there's all kind of bugs and critters and haints and boogers and whatever out in the woods. So I have no idea what's out there, but I got to go to the bathroom. So I basically told the man, look, flash the brake lights, but you better raise up off them lights when I get down there, right? Mind you, I'm 4 feet tall, and here I am bossing people around. You better do this, da-da-da-da-da. So the guy was laughing. He's like, okay, fine. So, I do what I had to do. We wait, I don't know how long. Finally, some random bus comes by. It happened to have space. The bus let us get on. Praise God, right? So we finally got to the border, and I was so happy. You talk about a happy person. I could have cut me a step right as soon as I got out of the car. Like the Pentecostal. I could have cut me a step when I got to the border. And then I'm looking around, and I'm noticing that it's kind of dark. Nobody's really going through the gates. Of course, the border's closed. So the people who I traveled with had already pretty much dispersed. And I happened to catch sight of 2 guys that were on the bus and in the car with me. So I asked them, hey, where's the hotel? And they were like, oh, no, I asked them, can we go to the border? And they were like, no, it's closed. I just needed confirmation because I was in disbelief. And I said, well, where's the hotel? And they were like, there is no hotel. I was like, preposterous. There's a hotel. This is a border town. There has to be a hotel. And I was like, if there's no hotel, where do we sleep? And they were like, well, we sleep on the street. I was like, not the kid. There has to be some place for me to stay. So we walked down the street. They said there is this one place. So we walked down the street. Mind you, my choices are go with them or sleep on the street. And so we walked and we arrived at this random looking building. And the building has no sign. So they're like, yeah, this is a hotel. And I was like, what kind of hotel is this? But, traveling in West Africa, you never know, what's what. So I was like, fine. I ain't really got a whole lot of choice right now. So we go in. It was dark. So I was like, it ain't open, right? Because, of course, I'm an African child from America. So I'm very vocal in my thoughts. So I'm like, it ain't open. Why is it dark in here? What's going on? And then I'm seeing people sitting around, and as my eyes adjust to the darkness, I see that there's a lot of women just kind of hanging out in the lobby. And I was like, why are women sitting down here? Why is it so dark in here? What's going? So I figure out that I'm in a brothel. And I don't have anywhere else to go. Yeah. So my choice was either to get a room there or brave it out on the street. And I have no idea what's going down on the street, whatever. So at this point in time, I hear Sister Connie, she feels my pain, right? Let's turn to the Hosea. Page 70, okay? In the middle of the first paragraph. Let's turn to the Hosea. Page 70 is passage number 8, middle of the first paragraph. 70, page 70, passage number 8. And it says, it is God who gives the wise the discerning heart in order that they may have appropriate respect. Oh, sorry, the middle. Yeah, middle of first paragraph. Yeah, the middle of the first paragraph. Passage number 8, middle of first paragraph. It's God who gives the wise the discerning heart in order that they may have appropriate respect. One who fears all harm avoids all harm. Do not take lightly. And, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I actually took you to the wrong passage. I'm sorry. Go to page 60, passage number 6, and it's towards the end. Okay? Page 60. Passage number 6, towards the end. It says, pray then to God each day as the sun rises, saying, grant me prosperity and health, and God will give you all you need in life, and you will be safe from fear. Right? So in that moment, I was very scared, but I'm so thankful that even in the midst of that unknowing and fear, I knew God was with me. I knew that the Most High was looking out for me. Right? I knew that God had my back. Right? And so I put my hand on the hammer. I was carrying in my purse. Because, of course, again, I typically travel with a hammer. And then I got to the room and I sprayed everything with Lysol. Because, of course, I also travel with Lysol. And I propped the chair against the door so couldn't nobody get in. And then I just stood there for a minute. And now this is where the Hosea passage on page 70 comes in, right? The middle of the first paragraph. It's God who gives the wise the discerning heart in order that they may have appropriate respect. This is page 70, passage number 8, middle of first paragraph. One who fears all harm avoids all harm. So do not take lightly a small illness for which there is a remedy. Take the remedy. So I'm not going to front and say that I didn't have a healthy amount of fear. Fear isn't a negative thing, right? Fear is negative when you don't get a handle on it. But fear is healthy because it tells you that something is wrong, that you need to pay attention to something. And so instead of acting like I ain't scared, I made sure I had that hammer right with me. And in that moment, you know, the illness was the possibility of fear getting out of hand. But my remedy was faith, Lysol, and a hammer. Right? So I washed up in the bathroom, right? Washed up in the bathroom. I put down my travel sheet, which is basically a sheet doubled over, and you sew it like a little sheet sleeping bag. But I put that down, and I slept lightly and fully clothed on top of my backpack with my hand on my hammer. I awakened to the sound of a rooster and the adhan, which is the call to prayer. And that was nice because that was definitely a faith-filled evening. I didn't get much sleep, but the little bit of sleep I had, I was thankful for because I really needed the rest. So I washed up and I brushed my teeth with bottled water. And then I went down to meet my traveling companions who were already in the lobby to go to the border. So we're going to the border, and I'm so excited, like, praise God, I see the border is open, people are going through, and my companions stopped to trade money on the street, which is what most people do when they're crossing between the two spaces. So when we got to the place where the customs agents check your passport, the customs agents decided they were going to hold my passport for some undisclosed reason, which is also something that happens often when you travel in Africa. I'm like, why are you holding my passport? Well, there's something wrong with it. Well, what's wrong? Well, there are some things wrong we don't see and blah, blah. So I'm like, whatever. They're basically going to hold me here until I pay them a bribe. But, of course, I was like, I ain't paying no bribe, not only because I really didn't have that much money, but it was the principle. So I was like, well, we just going to have to wait because I ain't paying. So the people that I was traveling with was like, fine, we'll just pay the bribe for her, right? We'll pay ours and we'll pay hers, right? So they go to pay the money, and they're told that their money is counterfeit. So now they've detained all of us at the border. Right, the money that they just traded on the street is counterfeit. So now they're holding all of us at the border. And the customs, they decided to just hold us for a while, and we sat there for maybe about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, until we paid them an additional bribe. So now I got to kick in for the bribe because I was like, we just got to go because I have to try to meet my traveling companions. Try to meet the rest of the group. So finally we paid the bribe, crossed the border into Cote d'Ivoire, and it was like, hallelujah, like this is a wonderful day, right? And I get on the bus, I'm waiting for the bus to leave, and you know, I bought a baguette and some water and a little piece of Laughing Cow cheese because that's what I could afford, right, at the time. And I found the bus that was going to take me to Abidjan, and I got on the bus, and I didn't care that we didn't know when the bus was leaving. I was like, I'm on this bus, and I'm staying until it moves somewhere. So finally the bus took off, and it was a nice little ride to the capital city. And in that moment, it was really beautiful. I had the beauty of experiencing the triumph of having come through that experience up to that point. And also the landscape was really beautiful, you know? So I just stopped in that moment of challenge and despair and still not really knowing, to take in the beauty that I was experiencing. You know, and that's a healthy practice for any of us to do. When we're in the midst of despair, sometimes we just have to take a step back and say, you know what can I learn from this situation? And also, what beauty is threatens to pass by me in this moment? Let me keep my mind open. Let me stay conscious. Consciousness isn't just about breathing, right, and being alive in terms of consciousness that they talk about at the hospital, or political consciousness. It's staying life conscious. Keeping your eyes and ears open and paying attention to the beauty of life that might otherwise pass you by because your mind is occupied with the stuff that's showing up physically in your life. So my group leader had told me that they would be staying at one of two hotels. She said that if they didn't stay at hotel number 1, they would be at hotel number 2. And if for some odd reason they weren't at hotel number 2, they would leave me a note. So we get to Abidjan. I get a taxi to hotel number 1. They're not there. Get a taxi to hotel number 2. And there was this very oddly disheveled girl who was the front desk person. You know, she just looked like she had literally woken up maybe like 30 seconds before we walked in the door. And when I say woken up, I don't mean she fell asleep in a chair. I'm talking about like she had been there all night. She did, like, hair was all over her head. She just was a mess. And she was totally like out of it. So I asked her if the group was there. And me and the 2 traveling companions, they're trying to help me figure out whether or not my group is there. So finally we figure out, okay, the group is staying at this hotel. They leave and we say we're going to get together for drinks or something later. And they go. So I told her to take me to where the group was staying. And I'm so excited. I'm going to see my friends again. And I've emerged triumphant. I've made it. And she takes me upstairs to one door and she knocks on the door and she says, well, they're not here. And I was like, well, where's the rest of the group? This is a group of like maybe 40 people. And I'm like, where's the rest of the group? And she's like, there's no other people. So, of course, I realized in that moment I'm at the wrong hotel. And I have no idea where to go. I have no idea where to go. I asked her if there was a note for me, and she said no. And then she walked away. And so now I'm completely alone in Abidjan with very little money, speaking hardly any French at the time, or local dialects, and no idea how to get back to Accra or how to find the people that I'm supposed to be staying with. So I walked down the stairs to the shabby little lobby of the hotel, and I sat down on the disgusting looking couch of questionable origin, and I cried. I cried real tears. No, not crocodile. These were crocodile, alligator. They was real. They were genuine, 100%, 14 karat tears. And in this moment, I remember calling on God, and in the lobby of this hotel, I was calling on God out loud in the lobby of this hotel, and I asked God to just guide me. And I said, I need help, God. I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do. And, in the midst of my tears, I'm just calling in this despair. And that was a pivotal moment for me, because it was just this moment of release. I had been very brave up to that point. I had been like, you know what? No, I'm not going to let it get me down. But every now and again, how many of us know we just got to stop and just let it out, right? That's an important part of the process. And so in that moment, I just cried to release all the stuff that I had been experiencing. Now, it takes me to another Hosea passage on page 16. The 5th and 6th paragraphs. And this is one of the more comforting passages to me in the Hosea. Let's read it together. It starts, page 16, the 5th and 6th paragraphs. All right. You, O Amun-Ra, are Lord of those who have no voice. You come at the call of the humble and needy. When I cry out to you in my distress, you come quickly to my rescue. To one who is weak, and save me from my enslavement. You, Amun-Ra, Lord of Thebes, are one who rescues those who are shut in and cut off. For you are he who is merciful, and when people cry out to you, you come from afar. Ashe. Now, how many of us know when you call on the Most High is going to show up? It might not show up in the way that you asked for it to show up, but it's going to show up in the way that it needs to, right? In its infinite wisdom, it's going to show up in the way that it needs to. And the nice thing about these experiences when you are in the midst of despair is that they are reminders. It's like training. It reminds you where to go when it's time for you to call on some help. It reminds you of exactly what to do. When you get that emergency time, like Baba Tai, who was a fire chief, they had training and they had to learn what the responses were to different emergency situations. Well, these life situations that challenge us are spiritual emergency training, right? There's spiritual emergency training. So we know that this distress and despair comes from fear, but we have to get a hold on it and remind ourselves who and whose we are. And in the passage, it talks about enslavement, and in many instances, our enslavement is our limited thinking. We can be held back by thinking that God is limited in what it can do, right? That we are limited in what we can do as children of God, as reflections of the Most High God, right? Sometimes we lose sight just for a moment who is truly in charge. So now, after about a minute of my release and sobbing, that's usually what it takes for me, about 45 seconds to a minute. In those despair times when I have that, like, I just got a release moment, it's very efficient. You know, I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, I have approximately a minute to give it, and then I got to get back on the trail. So I look to the side, and I see this envelope sticking out of a cubby hole, and it has my name on it. And I all but knocked the girl out of the way to get to this envelope. And I read it like I knew that it had been penned by the Most High itself. Okay, I read it like ravenously, like, where are they? So it gave the location of the rest of my group, and I got a taxi there, and I got tons of brownie points for having made it on my own. I was like, yeah, that's right. You know, I said I was going to make it. But I will tell you that the rest of that trip was a nightmare. I got stalked by some random dude who would not leave me alone. I got pickpocketed. And then I got sick from eating I don't know what. It was one of those situations where everybody pretty much ate the same thing, and I was the only one that got sick. So I was like, okay, probably not going back to Abidjan. But the blessing is that I survived to tell the tale, right? And it's something that I refer back to during those challenging times when I'm like, man, you know, I might have trouble doing something, but in my mind, I can remember. That's one of the many times in my life that I've been able to overcome. How many of us have those times? And how many of us take advantage of them? You know what I'm saying? How many of us truly take advantage of them as tools to help us understand we've done plenty of things to be able to get over. We've done plenty to make it through those tough times. We have what it takes. We have everything that we need at our disposal. And anything we believe we don't have, all we got to do is reach out to the Most High. And it will remind us, like, my child, I have already bestowed upon you everything you need. I got your back, right? And anything could have happened to me on that trip, hammer or no hammer. Okay. Even if I was a hammer or hammerless, anything could have happened. And that was up to that point. I was in my early 20s at the time. Up to that point, it was one of the hardest experiences that I had ever had in my life. But just the reminder that the Most High is with me all the time, even in your times of despair. That's important. We talked at the beginning about Set, right? So even when Set is at work with the mischief and the confusion, right? So is Amun-Ra. So is Heru. So is all the Netchers, all the Arichas, all the ancestors. They're standing on their tippy toes, like eagerly awaiting an opportunity to assist you. And all you have to do is just call on them and know that they're there with you. Move in faith, knowing that they're there with you. You know, and when I say with you, I don't mean like people on the same bus. I mean with you as in within you. They live within you. They are energy that is part and parcel of the Most High. And you are made in the image of the Most High. So you know you are part of the Most High, and so is all of that energy. So that energy is within you. So Set did his job that day, right? Set certainly did his job that day when I was trying to get to Cote d'Ivoire. When I was reading Mwata Ashby, and he points out that in our tradition, there's no concept of evil as conceptualized in the Western culture. Now, some of our elders might have said, you know what, I'm not going to let the devil take my day. Right? But in our tradition, there is no concept of the quote-unquote devil or evil as in Western culture. Set is not seen as evil like the devil, right? Set is more of a force, a spiritual force that is constantly working in nature to help build. So the mischief, we make choices, we learn, we grow, and Set is a part of that. right? And Set is a part of that. He says that we can turn the force of Set around and place it in the service of Amun-Ra. We can turn that mischief around and we can place it in the service of Amun-Ra. Our elders used to say, you meant it for bad, but God meant it for good, right? That's ancient wit and wisdom, and it rings true and holds true. So even in those times of despair, remember that Set is working in concert with the Most High for your highest and greatest good. I'm going to close with a quote from Muata Ashby's Kemetic Tree of Life. And he says that when the ego is under the control of the higher nature, it fights the forces of entropy, right, all the mischief. However, when beset with ignorance, it leads to the degraded states of human existence. The vices, egoism, selfishness, extrovertedness, wanton sexuality or lust, jealousy, envy, greed, gluttony, they are a result. Right? So the principle of Set is not inherently evil or bad, but when ignorance takes over the personality and forgets its true self, it can turn to egoism, selfishness, and greed. Right? So it's not that Set is inherently bad; it's that the mischief or the forces that Set might use at his disposal or have at his disposal can run rampant if we don't rein them in. Right? So the problem isn't this evil being, it's actually a lack of M.I.T balance in the movement. So those are the causes of bad things that people can do to each other, the world and themselves. We are to turn that force of Set around and place it in the service of Ra, our higher self, by using it to fight off the egoism and the negative desires. So let that be a reminder to you of those times when you might be in despair and you don't understand what's going on. Know that the Most High is with you and that all things are working together for your good. Ashe. Thank you.
All right. I want to thank Sister Tracy, Minister in Training Tracy Brown, once again. This is a time for us to stand, join hands. We close out today. Want to open up the